Just do more. So sometimes when I'm experimenting with a new way to do things, I don't have an idea of how I want to go about it. So if I can't figure out how to draw one thing, I just draw more things. So I'm going to show you today is 2 separate drawings. I had no idea what I wanted to do. I've been experimenting with this kind of, using that brush pen to get some big dark areas and then some scratchy areas, some dry brush effects, and then connecting the dots with some ink and just a regular fine liner. And I enjoyed doing this, but I didn't know exactly how I wanted to go about it. I didn't know what I wanted to do, so I did one that's supposed to be, it's a self-portrait if I didn't look like me and I was a cartoon. Then it would be a self-portrait. But then I did another one that I thought was beautiful. That one I actually really enjoyed. And I incorporated that method of using that one puddle of paint to just make it bright and vibrant. And it's just a great thing. I had a lot of fun. Okay, let's get into it. All right, so the first thing I want to say is don't ever do a portrait like this. This is not how you start doing a portrait. I started doing something completely different and just decided, hey, that looks like a head, so I'm going to do a portrait. It's going to be a weird portrait. It's not really what anyone looks like. It's just something that I'm just going to do. But here's the thing. When I experiment with different types of art and how to create different things, I just kind of do a random group of subjects. Just anything I can think of, something abstract, always something abstract. But sometimes it's a portrait that's abstract, sometimes it's a landscape. I do a lot of different things just to figure out what I really like about the style that I'm trying to create and what I'm trying to do. And that's something that I want everyone to do. You just experiment. Once you find that one thing that you just want to experiment with, just do anything you can think of, anything you can get your hands on, anything that comes to mind. Don't worry about if it's perfect. It doesn't have to be a subject you love, although sometimes I do subjects I love when I'm experimenting, but it doesn't have to be. Just see how you can make out with it with anything, just anything at random that you want to draw, and see if that works out for you. And that's what I mean by just draw more things. Don't just stop at one thing. Don't say, oh, I tried this one thing, it didn't work out, I'm never going to do that again. Just experiment with multiple different things until you get the hang of it. Then worry about if you're going to be able to really deal with it with everything that you actually want to create. Now, I've talked about in other videos where I like to constantly switch up what I do with art, either the style or the medium I'm using. But sometimes I find something that I'm experimenting with and I get more ideas than I can handle in a single piece. That's what I've found here, and that's why you're suffering through multiple videos while I figure this whole thing out. And sometimes I'm creating, and what's in my head doesn't appear on the paper. That's okay. Has that ever happened to you? It happened to me almost every time that I create. It's just not exactly what I pictured in my mind. Sometimes I don't have a picture at all, but if I do have a picture, it's usually not what comes out on the page. It's okay. It allows me to pick different things and concentrate on different areas. And then if I like something, I take that and I bring it to the next piece, and that's fine. It's not a problem. It just gives me more opportunities to create and try and make things happen. So I don't get down about that ever. Just keep going. Most of the time, the accidents that happen are actually pleasant. I don't mind them. And then I do more of that thing. That's how this started. That's how this kind of rough brushstroke thing started. Way back when I was doing some landscapes, I started doing a couple, and I saw I really like this. And I don't know why I ever stopped doing this, because I really enjoy doing this. And so now I've just added, I never went back in and added the detail with the fine liner. And now that I do that a lot more and I do a lot more detail, I've gone back and just kind of combined them and just made them kind of the same thing. And I put them in the same pieces and I enjoy it. Everything is wonderful. It's not that it ever comes out perfect or whatever. It's just nice. Okay, now that's about all I'm going to say about this. Let's get into something. If you've never watched the channel before, you don't understand this, I'm going to start talking about something that has nothing to do with the art that you're seeing. But don't worry about that. That's just how it works around here sometimes. So I was thinking about this the other day, and I think pets are really something. You know what I mean? Like, either you're a pet person or you're not. And if you're not, that's fine. Some people think pets stay outdoors. That's what. Don't worry if that's not your thing. Don't worry about it. But I am a pet person. Matter of fact, I'm a dog person. That's specifically, I love dogs. I love all animals, but I really love dogs. And the dog is kind of like a little toddler who's always happy when like mommy and daddy come home, and they like get all excited and they run up to you and they lick your face and they hop around like a maniac. But they're one of the only animals that are like that. The cat, I know there's a lot of cat lovers here on the channel. Don't get angry at me. I've had cats. I'll talk about that. But you come home and they look at you like it's about damn time. Do you know how hungry I am? Do you smell what's in there? That's waiting for you in there. You got to clean that up. And that's how they kind of look at you, and that's how they kind of treat you. Sometimes they'll come and they'll be nice, and other times they really don't care. They're just, okay, look, I'm done with you. I have no more use for you. Go clean out that litter box. Now, I've had 4 cats. I had one when I was younger. It was a long-haired Persian. The thing was crazy, but it's not its fault. It was abused by its previous owner. The kids tortured that thing, broke its back legs, broke its jaw, cut off the end of its tail. Like, the thing was abused, but it was... by the time we got it, and it stayed under the couch for about 6 months, wouldn't come out except to just like run to the bathroom or eat something and run back under. But eventually it started to trust us, learn that we weren't going to hurt it, and it started coming out. But with the way that it came out was it used to leap out from under the couch, latch onto your ankles, and just start tearing at your flesh with its nails, and it's biting at you. And it was like a survival thing. I get that. It was not a bad cat. Later on, years later, it got very much used to us. Then it was still a little schizo sometimes. You'd flip a switch and it would freak out. But then we had another baby cat that was just a kitten, just taken from its mother when my wife and I first got married. And that one passed. It was too young. We couldn't keep it alive. We took it to the vet. Everything was fine. We were doing everything we were supposed to do. It just didn't make it. Then we got another cat that was just a stray that was kind of wandering around. We felt bad for it. We wanted to bring it in, give it a little bit of food, and get it healthy. We took it to the vet, made sure it was okay. And we kept it for a little while. And then there was another lady in another town, or another neighborhood rather, that used to take care of stray cats. And we brought the cat to her once we knew it was healthy and everything was okay. We only had it for about 6 months, make sure everything was okay. Gained a little weight back, make sure that it didn't have fleas and no infections or anything like that. And then we brought it over there for her to take care of. But then we got our own cat that we were going to decide, okay, we want a cat now. We got a cat as a kitten. It was a great cat, just had a lot of energy and great, wonderful, kind cat. But then something happened to it, and it flipped a switch and turned into a crazy cat. And the cat was so crazy that it used to corner my sister-in-law, and she'd go into the bathroom and it would just wait for her right outside the bathroom. It just didn't like her for some reason. And she would come out of the bathroom and the cat would just attack her. To draw blood. Just did not like her at all. Liked us, was not that crazy with us. A little bit schizo if you pet it anywhere past its neck. Just on its back, it would freak out, turn around and latch onto you and just try and draw blood as hard as it could. There's one story about when my father-in-law is sitting on a chair, came for the holidays, and he's sitting on a chair, and then the cat turns around and was sitting on his lap, then jumps off his lap, sees that it's not me that it was sitting on, that she was sitting on, and then turns around, jumps back up on him and smacks the crap out of him with her claws, and then jumps off and runs away. So she was crazy. So I understand cats a little bit, but I'll tell you they're pretty much, they're crazy. Listen, if you have a fish, just go get a plant. It's the same thing. You're better off with a plant, as a matter of fact. Now, I know someone's going to say, oh yeah, but the plant doesn't move around. It doesn't swim right. Listen, take the plant and hang it from a ceiling fan. It'll go around in circles just like the fish. It's a lot easier to take care of. You don't have to clean out any tanks. But it's the same thing. You can talk to it if you want to. Nothing really happens. Now, if you have a bird basically is... Now, I love raptors. I like birds in general. I enjoy birds. I like them. But really, if you get a pet bird, most of the time you're getting one of the ones that talk to you, and that's what you're going to get. And I just want to let you know, usually people who get birds, they like to talk. That's what they like. They enjoy talking. They're talking to the bird's talking back to them every time they talk to the bird. They like to hear their own voice a little bit. The bird just keeps talking and talking, and they keep talking and talking. And really, that's what's happening there. It's someone who just likes to yap a whole lot. And they get birds, and they like the squawking and the noise, and they that's something that they enjoy. I'm not a big fan of all the noise. I don't mind. I like birds. Like I said, I like singing birds, not really squawking birds too much. Just birds that sing a little bit. But or raptors, I know. They're not pets, but I will eventually get a raptor. I'm going to eventually get my license for that, but not in the house. I've got to build a separate area that's connected to the house that stays warm when it's cold out and stays cool when it's warm out, but it just can't be in the house. My wife is terrified of birds. She's not a friend of birds at all. No, I can't say that. She has flown hawks before with me, once before. But she was terrified doing it. It's not her cup of tea. She does not like doing that. She doesn't want to do that. She doesn't like when birds get too close. I love birds. If one came over and just landed on me, I would be ecstatic. But I definitely don't like to just yammer constantly. You would never know from these videos because that's all I really do. But don't worry about that. I'm just saying that it doesn't. And the one I might put up, there's a certain type of bird that you can actually train to go in a litter box. I may put a picture of that up somewhere in this video. Whenever I think of it, I'll just insert the picture. You'll just see a bird pop up on the screen. That'll be the bird that I'm thinking of. I don't remember what they're called, but they have a very smooth kind of texture. Some are blue, some are green, different colors. But you can train them to use a litter box. Is that amazing? You can train. So because the biggest argument people have is birds are messy, they're disgusting, they're dirty. They're not really dirty. You can train them just like a cat. If you think a cat is dirty, then here they are. Here they are. I'm going to put them up on the screen here in a second. They're beautiful birds. And you can train those birds to go in a litter box. I think you can train almost any bird, really. They're pretty intelligent. They're actually very smart creatures. You can train them to do different things, and going into a litter box is one of them. But that's if you have one of those. Now, if you have a turtle, that's different. Turtles are fun. Turtles they kind of just don't do much. They show absolutely no emotion. It's like one step up from a fish. If you have a turtle, it's one step up. Turtles are great. They're fun to have around. You can talk to them and pretend like they understand what you're talking about. That's what most people do when they have turtles. They talk to them like they know what they're doing, but they really have no idea what you're saying. They're not that intelligent. They're portrayed maybe sometimes as intelligent. They're not really intelligent. It's all instinct with them. They're a reptile amphibian group. Those groups, the cold-blooded groups, they're not very smart. But that's okay. Nothing wrong with that. Like I said, I love all animals. And some people have them, and turtles are cool. I wonder, I don't think you should do this. Don't try this, because I think it would hurt the animal. But I think if you use the back of the turtle as like a watercolor palette, and you just mix some stuff. I don't know if it gets absorbed in there. I don't know if it's dangerous for the animal. Don't do that unless you know. I just think that would make the turtle that much cooler if you could just sit it up on your desk while you're painting and just keep moving it over and just painting off of its shell. That's what a real painted turtle is. Now, I wouldn't do that with acrylic because that'll seal it. But the watercolor I don't know. Don't do this. I'm not telling you to do this. Don't hurt any animals. Now, if you have a snake, I had a snake. I had a 6.5 foot boa when it started, and then it went up to like 10.5 feet. The thing was huge. It bit me twice. It was all my fault. I pinched its tail one time, and an accident. I leaned against a china cabinet and pinched its tail, and it smashed me right in the forehead. Felt like someone punched me in the face, but it let go immediately. It wasn't trying to kill me. It was wrapped around my neck. If it wanted to kill me, it would have. It did not do that. And then the other time it was up in a little tree. We had a little Japanese maple tree in the front yard, and I kind of slid it off, and as I slid it off, there were little nubs, and it scratched it a little bit, and I didn't realize it. And then it bit me in the arm, and that time it just let go right away. I just put it on the ground and scared the crap out of me. But then after a little while, I was fine. But anyway, it was a huge snake. And let me tell you something about people who own snakes. People who own snakes want to be looked at. They want you to look at them and say, oh, you own a snake. That's what they want. People will say, oh, that's not true. That's not really what they're... Yes, it is. Trust me, I had one. You don't put a snake, you don't put... At the time, maybe, let's say, 7, 8 feet long when I started walking around the neighborhood with it. You don't put that thing around your neck and walk around your block if you don't want people to look at you or say, hey, that's an interesting thing. Maybe you're interesting because you have an interesting thing. People that have the snakes that like to show them off, they want people to think that they're interesting. That's just how it is. They may love the snake. I'm not saying they don't. I loved my snake. My snake did not love me. They trusted me. It's the same with birds. Birds don't really, I know people are going to be upset about this. Birds don't really love you. They just accept you as their family. The bird may love you a little bit or have emotion toward you as its family, but it's not the kind of love that you're thinking of. It's more like, okay, you're my family. I accept that you're here all the time. I know you're not going to try and hurt me because that doesn't happen in the wild. You know what I'm saying? It's not like a bunch of birds where you're going to another animal to get food. You know, you're handing food to another animal. You can train birds to trust you and accept you as family. How to get back on birds? I was talking about snakes, but anyway, snakes just learn to trust you. They learn your scent. They learn to trust you. Okay, this person takes me out every day, and you get them used to being handled. If you don't handle the snake ever, and then you go to handle the snake and you're rough with it, it'll snap at you. But if it's used to being handled and you may be a little bit rough with it, it's usually okay. That doesn't mean you should be rough with a snake. I'm just saying it probably is okay. It understands who you are, that you always take it out and take care of it. So, what are the pets? Gerbils? Listen, if you have a gerbil or a rat or something like that, you're a power freak. You get on your wheel and run, and I'm going to tell you when to stop running, and once in a while I'll run these little tubes everywhere and make you run through them, and then I'll give you a pellet at the end. That's a control freak. I don't know about those people sometimes. That's someone who needs to be in power all the time. It's like, I'm big, you're little, you're in a little box, and I put little tubes for you to run through to make it seem like you're running through the house, but you're really not. You're in a tube. If you have ferrets, you just like to freak people out because the ferrets will do weird things and mischievous things, could bite people, but you're usually pretty friendly if you're used to being handled all the time. But if you have a ferret, usually the ferret's out loose in the house. And then you're like, oh yeah, you want to see my ferret? And the ferret's like running all over them. And you're freaking them out. And that's just what you like to do if you have ferrets. I had a neighbor who had a couple of rabbits. Rabbits are fun, but they just sit outside in a cage. It's not, you have to have an area for the rabbits to be in. There needs to be some natural grass. Don't leave them up in a cage. Of course, they leave them up in the cage because all the rabbit pellets, the crap, falls out into the ground through the cage, but it's not very good for the rabbits. You want to have them on the ground. They can be in a closed off area, but you want them to be able to be kind of in natural habitat. I don't understand. We get like animals, like you get a frog or you get a little lizard and you throw it in a jar and you put like a stick and a leaf in there. That's not their natural habitat. That's not what they're looking for. You need an area. When you take care of animals, you need something that they're used to being in if you have a pet. And if some pets are not meant to be pets, but I'm just saying you have to give them some kind of life that they're used to, that they're looking for, and not just put them in a cage with nothing that they need, just in a glass jar or in a glass bottle. They have one stick, one leaf, they have a little tray of water that they don't understand what that's for. And for the love of everything, if you have a turtle, make sure if you put it in a little bit of water that it has a place to get out of the water. Because I've seen so many people, they put the turtles in the water. And although they like to be in the water, they're always in the pond. Yeah, okay, I understand that. But they can crawl out of the pond and be on dry land. Or crawl up on a rock and be on dry land. they don't always like to be submerged in water. Eventually, they're going to drown. You can't just keep them in there. I'm not talking about the sea turtles. I'm talking about regular, like a box turtle or painted turtle or something. You got to have, they don't like to stay wet all the time. They like to come out of there, get dried off, nice heat rock, a heat lamp, get all nice and toasty. That's just how it is. Alright, so thumb up the video if you are going to look at doing something for, you know, the whole thing about this whole video. What I was actually doing with the art. If you're going to just find something to experiment with, try a bunch of different things, and just throw a whole bunch of stuff against the wall and see what sticks. But also, if you are going to find out if you can actually use the back of a turtle as a watercolor palette, and then you will come back here and let me know. And if I missed any animals, you just let me know and I'll talk about them in another episode. We'll figure that out together. Alright, if you would like to join our community, go to illustrationsbypete.com. You can come in, you can put your own artwork on the site and promote it. You can find some inspiration in the free reference photos. You can just use them however you want in your artwork. You do not need to credit me. Or you can come into the forums and talk to some people and maybe give some advice and maybe find a little bit of information that helps you. So come check us out. Alright, that's about it for me. I'm going to go. I'll see you in the next one.